So first, we talk about data processing cycle. There are 4 major steps in the data processing cycle. We have data input, data storage, data processing, and then finally information output. Right, the first step is data input. So in this step, we're going to capture transaction data triggered by a business activity or event. We're going to make sure captured data are accurate and complete. So there are a couple ways to achieve those goals. For example, we have data entry screens. We have improved controls to help us make sure the data are accurate and complete. And also we're going to ensure company policies are followed. Okay, for example, the approval of transactions before we input transactions. Data must be collected about 3 facets: the activity of interest, resources affected, and the people who participated. I'm going to capture all these. So for a sales transaction, we're going to capture, right, the sales transaction, inventory sold and cash received, and the customers, and the salesperson. Information comes from source documents. So source documents are documents used to collect data about their business activities. So what are those the source documents? We have paper source documents, like purchase orders, right? Sales invoice. Those are paper. We call the so-called also electronic version, called a source document. Also, we have turnaround documents, which is document we send out, then we're gonna collect, like the gas meter reading form. Now we have the source data automation. Typically, now all the electricity meters are, most of them are automated, right? They're gonna send the readings directly to the company. We also have point of sale scanners, right? Grocery store. All these are source data automation. Next, data storage. So it's important to understand how data is organized, stored. So in accounting, accountants need to know how to manage data for maximum corporate use. So let's talk about how we organize accounting data, right? First, we're going to have ledgers. So the general ledger contains summary level data, every assets, liability, equity, revenue, expenses account of an organization. Okay, so it's like a book holding all the accounts. We also have subsidiary ledger, which records all the details data for any general ledger account. That is many individual sub-accounts, like accounts receivables. In the general ledger, we also have accounts receivable for customer A, customer B. So these are subsidiary ledger. We also have chart of accounts. Chart of accounts is a list of all the general ledger accounts an organization uses, with each general ledger account being assigned a specific number. Right? For example, the chart of accounts will start with cash, typically 101. account number. Now this is called a chart of account. So it's like an index of the book. Audit trail. The accounting data and records should provide a trail starting with the source document all the way through to the final posting in the general ledger account and to the financial statement. Okay, we call these tracing. We can also do the track information from the other opposite directions. Right? Read financial statement. Then we're gonna go back to find information in the ledger. Then from the ledger to the source document to find out where's my purchase order. We call these vouching. Okay. Both tracing and vouching are part of the audit trail. So this gives us an idea what is tracing and vouching. Coding. Remember? Right? We gave in the chart of account we gave a cash account number 101. So this is a coding. So coding is a systematic assignment of numbers or letters to items to classify and organize them. And chart of accounts is a good example of sequence codes. Right? We also have block codes. Right? Again, chart of account, all the assets will start with 1, right? Typically. This is the block codes. We also have group codes. Group codes are often used in conjunction with block codes. And in mnemonic codes, both the letter and numbers are used together to identify an item, like right? An example is W300. So it means a white product. W means white. All right. Then we talk about computer-based storage. Data is stored in master files or transaction files. Okay. So what is master file and what is transaction file? Let's talk about that. So master files, very similar to their ledger, right? In AIS systems. Master file include resources and people, and they are permanent. Then we also have the transaction files, contains records of business transactions that are not permanent. So we're gonna analog of transaction file is journal entry, right? Journals in the accountings, right? So we record the journals every day, then information will be posted to the ledger, to the master files. So a database is a set of interrelated, centrally coordinated files, right? Including master files and transaction files. You call this database. So let's take a look at what a database has. All right, so a database has entity and attribute. So we call these entities. Obviously, if you look at this database, it's about customers. Okay, so an entity here is a customer, and we have 3 customers. So we call them 3 entities. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and then each entity or each customer has attributes, or you can call them characteristics of interest. These characteristics describe the customer. So attributes here include customer number, name, address, credit limit, and balance. We call them attributes. So we have attributes, we have entities, and next we're going to record input information, and that become records. Okay, so this is a record for customer 19283. And to put a records, we also have to put information into for each attributes, and we call these individual field. And each field has a value, right? For this field we have a value. For this field we have a value. Okay, these are data value. All right, so this is the basic format of database. Computer-based storage. So next, once we understand a database, next we have to talk about media of storage. How we're going to store data, right? If you look at, right, in old days we store data in magnetic tapes, right? And we used various of these. I believe you have used all these, right? Right? And now we are working in cloud. Okay. Of course, on the remote side, they are still using, I believe, the hard disk, and many other media. And also, the way the data is stored is different from the counting, because we're using binary count. Information is expressed as either 1 or 0, right? So it's a binary digit, yes or no. We call this a bit. Then 8 bits, we call this a byte. Okay? So a kilobyte is so because we're using binary calculation, a kilobyte will be the 10th power of the 10th power of number 2. So that's going to be 1022 bytes. Okay, if we're using the ordinary, the 10-digit calculation, the ordinary calculation, which is we call the International System Unit, the kilobyte will be 1000 bytes. But we're using binary, so it's 1022 bytes. Therefore, a TB, typically we purchase hard disk called 1 TB or 2 TB, is a terabyte. Terabyte, right? If we're using the binary calculation, it should be 1022 GB, gigabyte. But of most of the manufacturer, their terabyte is using the normal International System Units. So it's 1 T bytes. So if you do the calculation, Okay, 1 TB it's much smaller than 1 terabyte. Okay, it's about 900 something gigabyte. So when you buy a 1 TB hard disk, installed 1 TB hard disk, you get only 900 something gigabyte, much smaller than the 1 terabyte in binary counting. Alright, this is something about the calculation. Next is the data processing. We have 4 types of processing. We have creating new records, reading existing data, updating and deleting, known as CRUD. Data processing can be finished in a batch, or in real time. Right? In a batch, for example, we're going to post records to the ledger at the end of the business day. Right? That could be more efficient. But the disadvantage is, right, during the day those records are not are not processed. Or the data can be processed in real time. So for every transaction, for every record, it will be processed. Again, right, that need a lot of work. So there's a trade-off. And finally, the information output. So the data stored in database file can be viewed in various ways, right? It can be viewed online, which is we have a soft copies. They can be viewed in a printed out or hard copy. If we have the hard copy, we mean it's a document, right? Could be sales invoice, it could be a report, and it could be a query. So query basically is a question for specific information in a database. For example, you want to know, right, what division had most sales for that month. That is a query. Okay, you can get information from the database and print the information out. Okay. Again, try these multiple choice questions. Next, we're going to talk about something about communication language. This is part of the chapter 18. Again, we have additional stuff for this topic. So first, HTML, right? We have now this all the time. It's hypertext markup language. HTML is written in the form of HTML elements consisting of text enclosed in angle bracket. A web browser can read HTML files and compose them into web pages. Then XML, Extensible Markup Language. XML defines a set of rules of encoding documents. So it is designed to describe data, not to display data. Tags are not predefined. You must define your own tags. XML is a complement to HTML. And here we have an example of HTML. So these enclosed in the brackets, we call them tags. Basically, they identified the characteristics of these information. So if you use a web browser to read this line of HTML, you're gonna get information like this is a accounting 4320. Hello, you've got an A in this course information. XBRL. XBRL is a subset of XML and is a tool for tagging or labeling financial data. So the XBRL is known as Extensible Business Reporting Languages. So it's for financial reporting purposes. It's extensible because XBRL will never be finished. It can be extended. Okay? We can add or create a new tags within certain guidelines. And with tags, with ever-increasing tags, XBRL can provide context for the data. For example, it allows us to provide as much as information we want for that data, and also those data can be interpreted more easily, right, with XBRL. So this is the information showing you what is XBRL. Right? If you look at the information, this number, the 28,950 for sales, it's just one number. But if you look at the coding, right, it has a lot of tags. The code tells us, right? It indicates not only the number, but also the nature of this number, right? It's a sales for a particular time period. And we have followed the US GAAP, and it is measured in US dollars. So a lot of information is provided. Then when the information is read, okay, the software will capture these information and present information to us. So this is what XBRL is about. Now we have also the inline XBRL, and also known as iXBRL. iXBRL merges HTML and XBRL so that the same document is human readable in a browser. It also contains structured machine readable data. Okay? So the SEC has required all public companies use inline XBRL when submitting documents to it. So if you want to learn a little bit more about XBRL, you can always have this additional reading. Okay? And also we have a folder in the Blackboard which gives you more reading about XBRL. Okay, so let me briefly explain it. So what displays XBRL is basically two things. We have instant document, okay, plus the style sheet. Basically, the style sheet is going to tell the software what kind of format the report will be. That's style sheet. Right, the data itself is contain an instant document. So instant document is going to have the data, okay, plus the taxonomy. Okay, that includes the schema and the link basis. Basically, these are tags and a dictionary. So when we put a tag to the data, that's not enough. We also have to explain what the tag is about. Okay, that is the link basis. Sometimes we need a lot of words, information to explain what the tag is, right? For example, if I put a US GAAP over there. So what is US GAAP? It's a big topic, so we have a link base for US GAAP. So that completes the XBRL. Okay, and what we see is the interpreted information, okay, by the software, to be more specific, the browser. Okay. Okay, try these multiple choice questions. And also in this chapter, we also cover a little bit about ERP. Right, accounting information system is already good, but that's not enough. Okay, to run the whole company, we need to integrate all the activities for the whole entire organizations. Then we need ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System. Basically, it integrates activities like productions, payroll, sales, purchasing, and the core, right? Also the ARS, Accounting Information System. So we have talk about advantages of ERP systems. Okay, I'm not going to go through it. And also disadvantage of the ERP systems. Basically that's a cost. Could be very expensive. Alright, so here we have a few videos for you to get a basic idea what kind of ERP systems we have. Right? What are those leading products for you to choose? Okay? 10 years ago, what we were using, and now what we are using. And you can see, right, some products has been dropped and some new products are emerging. Okay, try multiple choice.